Welcome back to Callahan's Corner, where you ask questions, we answer them live on Facebook Live. So we are going to give this a third and final try. So for some reason, Facebook just does not want this Callahan's Corner to be aired. So this is actually my third attempt with technical problems. So I'm going to pull up my phone here real quick and try to refresh the Facebook page to make sure this is actually streaming live. But if you are joining us live, please drop a comment in the questions area here just so we can actually see. So it looks like we are good to go. All right, so third and final try. If you are joining us live, make a note there or just kind of a comment that you can hear us and it is working. So the biggest thing right now is how do we go out and quote more services live over the phone without the massive risk of an exact price? So one solution that we came up with in my lawn care company several years ago is creating a high-low price range by manipulating service autopilot in ways that really wasn't designed to work. But it actually works extremely well at this fashion. So what we're going to be doing here is dialing in and creating a high-low price range. So I'm going to go through systematically and show you how to set this up step by step so we can go into lawn care, spring cleanups, home cleaning, top to bottom deluxe or weekly or bi-weekly. But the idea is to be able to sell more services over the phone, gateway services, and to combat some of the basically the distances and social distancing from COVID-19 right now. So it's something we were doing well before this epidemic, but right now it's more applicable than ever. How do we price services such as spring cleanup or in the cleaning industry at top to bottom or deep clean without actually going to the property and giving the consumer the ability to see a high-low price range on it and the ability to take the risk out of it for you as a company and the consumer. So it's a win-win for everybody, in my opinion. So I'm going to break this down. It looks like we got a few people joining us. If you're joining, can you just type in, make sure that you can see my screen and hear the audio. This is my third and final attempt of actually doing this over the last few days here for this actual question. So as we're going in, I'm going to dial this down here and go into service autopilot. So the first thing we want to look at when we're doing a high-low price range is we want to create a custom field. So I'm going to create this custom field here as landscape square footage. Now, I've already done this video once live today that didn't work and actually filled this out already. So I'll walk through this somewhat quickly, but I'm going to give you an idea how to break this down. So there's two services, one for low and one for high that we need to break. So we have spring cleanup low price, that's our base price, and the spring cleanup max, the high price. So we're going to go in and fill out the name, the custom field is landscape square footage, so lawn and turf area. And I'm going to set a base price at $250 to show up for the spring cleanup. I will not stop less than $250. And I'm charging $50 an hour. And my break even per man hour is $36 per man hour. So now that we've gotten this broken down, I'm going to say I'm going to cover up to 5,000 square feet of turf and bed for my base price at $250. I'm allotting $5 per man hour, so 5 times 5 or 5 times 50 is $250. And based on my $36 per man hour, it's costing me $180 break even before I make a profit. So as we have this built out, I'm going to say every 1,000 over the 5,000 here, this is my base price, is an additional $25 based on a half hour. So a half hour times $50 per hour is $25. And then a half hour times 36 is $18 break even. So I've created a base price of the minimum I'm going to do is just show up for spring cleanup is $250. And the maximum amount of time I'm giving my guys and girls in the field is 5 man hours. Now I'm going to the high area. So I'm going to say, okay, based on the lowest I'm going to show up is $250. The most I'm going to charge for my base price is 7 hours based on 5,000 square feet of cleanup area. So based on $7 or 7 hours times my 50 is $350. So my high-low base price range is $250 to $350. So I've covered a $100 swing to cover myself and the consumer. And then every 1,000 is still an additional $25 more, half hour, and $18 cost. So we go into a blueprint very similar to the Simple Growth blueprint. So the main steps is we got to create a custom field and the services for high and low with the matrices based on your hourly goals and your expense per man hour. Next thing you're going to do then is go into Service Autopilot under the gear icon and go into custom fields. So you want to do these in the same order because we're building a predictable system and processes. So if we go in here, I already built this out when we were having technical difficulties, but I called it landscape square footage. So it gives you the ability to go under customer, employee, vendor, property. We're going to tie this into the customer and we're going to make the value a number so we can run multiplication off it. So we're going to save that. So now that we've got our custom field, we need to go into service autopilot in the gear icon and build out the high, low price range. So under the gear icon services, we're going to type into services, and I'm going to bump this out here. I'm going to pull up the ones I've already made on the Facebook Live that did not work yet. So I've got a high and low price range. So if I go into the low spring cleanup, what we did originally here before I recorded this the first time is we created that. So once this opens up, we created the service name, the code, service modes per unit, invoice description, the account and class, and estimate description. So for speed and accuracy, I just kind of pasted them in, but obviously you want to customize these. Under the rate matrix, we did our calculation based on landscape square footage. And the top 5 lines here, I lined up identical to the top 5 lines here. The bottom 5 lines lined up here to the exact blueprint here. Very similar to building a house. You don't build a house without a blueprint. You don't put random doors and windows everywhere. You don't want to build a pricing matrices without a blueprint. So now that we have that in there, we built out our low range. We want to go in then and build out a high range. So same exact process, we enter this information in here. So we build out the 2 services, high and low, with the base price of $250 and the base price of $350 based on our high-low range. So the next thing you're gonna wanna do is go into the gear icon, and we wanna actually build out a package. It's a master package. So what we did here is we went in, I'm just going to pull up the one I already built here in the previous Facebook post here, but we're going to do our spring cleanup high-low range. So in this test account, we've got several examples of this, but this is the methodology. So we're going to name it. We're going to put a description in. We're going to put our renewal date, and then we're going to name right here spring cleanup base price, spring cleanup max price. And then we pull in the specific service that we already built. So if I go in, in the service and delete this out, if I pull this up, I'm pulling the spring cleanup low and then spring cleanup high. I'm going to be putting a start and end date. So when is the particular time? So a package job is going to give the ability to actually schedule off of. There's some pros and cons of doing scheduling off this, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but if you are going to utilize this as a package job for just one of the 2 levels, you can go in and schedule it between say 3:1 and 4:15, and that's going to allow you to route for density and minimize that drive time. Minimum days, default hours, and budget hours are not applicable. Leave those in 0. Default hours and rate will actually override that. Now, when you're in here, something to take into account is when you click in here, you can go in and use estimate description and type in the estimate description. This will override the service level. So minimum price for spring cleanup, save, and then we can go back into this one and type that in. You'll see when I actually do the estimate, this actually overrides the actual service level where I typed in or just pasted and copied for speed. So, and we'll save that. So now once we have our package, we're going to save the changes, and then we need to create a job template. So if we go into templates, we need to go in and create a high-low price range. So I've already done this here. So spring cleanup high-low. What we did is we went in and added an item. Instead of a service, we added a package. And I went in and grabbed our high-low spring price range and then applied. So now they've loaded in. We can test it by putting, say, 5,000 square feet in, and it calculates exactly what we had plugged in. So great tip there to test your packages. Make sure we default this back to 0. In addition, we'd go in and name it, and when we said it is related to jobs or estimates or both is going to open up this additional cell here for estimate document. We'd grab our estimate document, and that's going to link in our estimate email, the estimate document with the dynamic or estimate grid, 2 of the same, and a estimate acceptance email. So now everything is put together. So our marketing is built the way it should be. And we've standardized that workflow. So once we're good, we're going to go in and hit save and close. And we're going to test this out. So we're going to go into old Acme Inc. here. And we've already measured these areas in a previous video, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. So the idea is now it's based on landscape square footage. So I want to go into property measurements. And a reason why it's really important to save your property measurements is now every time I pull this up, everything's labeled and diagrammed out. So I had measured out the green area for the turf, the red area for the landscape beds, and the blue area for an in-ground pool fictitiously. We've subtracted the pool, we've added turf and the beds, and then we would scroll down and hit save here. And then that is going to save that view. So every time we pull it up, it's there. Consistency. And then you take a screenshot of it and add as attachments below so the crew can see the question. Now, we would want to go in under this and then tie this into that 555 landscape bed square footage. And once we've got that in there, we will button that up and actually run it through an estimate. So we've got quite a few custom fields here, but that's the one we picked out to be the overall one. So we're going to hit save. Now that custom field's saved. So the next thing we're doing is actually going to create an estimate live over the phone. But instead of an exact price or $250 to show up and $50 per man hour, we've actually customized this to give a high-low price range to take the sting out of that for either the consumer or us. So we add that template in there and it loads as advertised. But now our base price is $350 and our high price is $450. So we have 7 to 9 man hours to get that job done. And we've buttoned up our 28% net profit margin. So we'd hit draft to quote. We would go in and hit save. And then I'm going to email this to myself so you can actually see what this looks like when it goes out. So we email that out. And I'm going to hop on to my other screen here and grab my email. So we've got this here. Pre-templated email loads up. We hit send. And I'm going to hop on the other screen and pull this up so you can see what it looks like for your potentially new client. So as this is loading here on my other screen, if you have any comments or questions, drop them below in the comments section. Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions, we answer them live on Facebook. So anything to do with business, lawn care, home cleaning, pest control, we are happy to hear to demo it and show it to you live. So we've got our pre-templated email that's loaded in. I'm going to view click my proposal. And now this templated email or estimate loads up. And we can see spring cleanup, high, low price range. So you can see this area here has been overridden by what I did on the actual master template. Obviously, you can display the grids and make this look more applicable, but for time and speed, I just pasted this in. But now the consumer's accepting the estimate from between $350 and $450 for that spring cleanup or top to bottom deluxe in the spring clean or home cleaning industry. Scrolling down, we got some videos. We've got different clickable buttons with links out, but the idea is the consumer is going to go in, sign it electronically with their mouse. They are going to type their name in and accept. And then at that point, they'll get an automated email back acknowledging the acceptance. And you'll get a to-do or task in Service Autopilot to sign up and schedule that service. So comments or questions, drop them below. I'm going to pop back to my other screen here to see if anybody has any comments from the live feed. But the idea here is we need to go out and systematize our estimating that can be delegated to a virtual assistant or somebody in our office. With social distancing and the COVID-19 crisis that's going on right now, landscape companies and home cleaning companies have been deemed essential in 99% of the markets. And even in New York, this thing is just moving as going on today, where some companies were not essential. And by the midday today, they are considered essential. But that is only the first hurdle. We need to be able to go out and sell these services over the phone and not incur the risk, but take the perceived risk by our consumer out. And a high-low price range is one way of tackling that. So if you follow this video step by step, I'd highly suggest creating this process for your spring cleanups or any other service that you'd like to quote over the phone, but you don't necessarily feel comfortable with giving the exact price. Take a high-low price range, take the risk out of it, make your future consumer feel comfortable, especially what's going on right now, and close more work over the phone. And once you close that up, create a nurture and a systematic upsell 5 or 6 times a year, based on the seasonality to raise that client lifetime value and double down on that reoccurring revenue. So comments or questions, drop them below. Callahan's Corner. You ask the questions. We answer them live here on Facebook. We'll see you again tomorrow with some other submitted questions.